Running testing sessions and interacting with these strangers can be scary. To make sure everyone feels at ease, it's important to be explicitly clear about how the sessions will work. A user interview doesn't have to be stiff, it doesn't have to be formal. In fact, the more casual it is that you make it, typically the better results that you get, because this person's a lot more comfortable, this person's a lot less self-conscious. The better you know them, the better of a product that you can create for them. So when you have a session like that, it's always gold.
All right, for this chunk, you're going to fill out the part of the template with who's doing the testing and observing, and then the results of doing the tests with participants.
It is a two-person job. You can't do this by yourself because you need someone who's actually interacting with the tester to guide them along, answer any questions, make sure they feel comfortable. You need to make sure that you have yourself and another person. So the two roles that you're trying to fill here would be someone to interview and interact with the participant and someone to be taking as detailed notes as they possibly can. So it could be that you have your tester with the laptop or the app or product in front of them, and you have the interviewer sitting on one side and the observer sitting on the other side. So ideally, you should be able to look at both the screen and seeing what they're trying to click on and what they're not clicking on.
If you're doing this stuff solo, you'll have to be facilitator and observer. Now, there's a couple of bits of tech that we'll go through later on to show you how to do that.
The first thing that you really want to do is just to make sure that your tester feels comfortable. You kind of want to set, a couple of really simple ground rules so that they know what to expect. Ground rules actually are not meant to be restrictive, it's meant to be the opposite. You have to be upfront and say like, hey, it's okay. I want you to be honest. I want you to give, your honest feedback. Say whatever it is that you have to say. If you're confused, show you're confused. This is not about being polite. The second thing that you should be telling them is giving them a bit of context as to why you're doing this and how they are relevant to you. So tell them, I'm an entrepreneur and I'm going to set up a store that sells like baby clothing to new moms. So you kind of want to set the context for them so that they can continue on this without any distractions. Introduce yourselves, but also your roles. So this would give them some information as to why there's one person sitting in a corner just writing stuff down and not saying much, and why, you're the main person talking to him or her. Also gives her some cues as to know who it is that she's meant to interact with, who is she meant to direct any questions or comments to. If you set the context and you do a bit of the prep work, then it could actually be a good experience for them. The biggest mistake that any interviewer would make is to get either really defensive. So if someone gives you a piece of feedback that hurts your feelings, that's not the right thing to do. You really need to leave your ego at the door. It happens really, really often. I think it's really natural. You can be very objective about this and just take it as constructive criticism, because then you can do something about it. So sometimes it gets really tempting to try and help them along, or it gets uncomfortable or a bit awkward when you see that they're a bit stuck and you know what it is that they have to do. But you should never do that, because you are basically ruining your own research by helping them out. But if they prove to be a bit too much, then what I would do is just to stop the interview, wrap up as politely as you can, and then maybe exclude this person's feedback from it. If they have any questions about what they should do next, your answer probably should be, what do you think you should do next? So return the question back to them and let them explore it, and that's how you get some good feedback. If you are observing and you're taking notes, the biggest mistake that you can make is being just too broad or too general about something. A really broad observation would be, had issues checking out. A really good, very specific observation would be, could not find the checkout button. Actually, whether you're the observer or the interviewer, you want to be really quite closely watching. You're most definitely going to run into testers or users that will not be as vocal. If they seem happy, if they seem upset, these are all things that you should note down as well. So when you're very precise and detailed with your notes, you're going to be able to get a lot more accurate results and be able to work off from that.
If you've done this right, you'll have a few pages of information from all of the tests you've done with participants. You'll notice some themes and some really obvious stuff that needs changing. That's what we'll deal with next.
I would say the biggest tip is actually just to practice. You can practice with someone that you know, just so that you get a hang of it and you're not doing it for the first time. Because not only do you find out about whether this feature is really usable or really useful, you also get to find out a lot more about your target audience. At the end of the day, like, a lot of people kind of liked being asked for their opinion. You know, a lot of people like to feel like what they say actually matters, and in this situation it really does.